So, does Joaquin Phoenix winning last night Best Actor Drama at the Golden Globes significantly increase his chances of actually winning the Oscar? Oh, it does! But I don't want us to get too excited. There's one more test that he must pass because I think, well, the odds are so overwhelmingly in his favor with this win. But comic book movies have become particularly divisive in Hollywood lately. Joker being, one of the most divisive. And last night was kind of weird at the Golden Globes. A lot of divisive movies got vindication. Many of us were left scratching our heads over Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Rocketman, and Judy winning their categories, right? And that's how, I think it's hard for us to understand it, but that's how some people feel about Joker taking home a win for Best Actor. So someone could just chalk last night up to that, right? It was a weird, crazy night where a lot of niche fandoms got some recognition, but are we really going to do that with the Oscars? I could see Academy voters thinking that way. So what's this last test? The SAG Awards. That's going to be where we really get a read on things. And the SAG Awards are coming up. They're Sunday, January 19th. And the SAG Awards, of course, are the actors of Hollywood, and they're the biggest voting bloc in the Academy. SAG Awards, by the way, even predicted the shocking Sean Penn, Mickey Rourke upset a decade ago. And now that we see these patterns, and I think everyone's a lot savvier than they were back then, when this commentary, when you look back, that shouldn't have been a surprise whatsoever. But, it was quite shocking when it did happen. Even Sean Penn in his speech famously said he couldn't believe that he'd beaten Mickey Rourke out for the Oscar. Well, they're all gold. Well, it's not the SAG Award. But anyway, overall, the winner of the Golden Globe for Best Actor Drama has taken home the Oscar each time for the past decade at least, with one exception, right? This is where Taron Egerton starts to get excited himself. And that's Jean Dujardin for The Artist. He'd won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a comedy or a musical, but he won the SAG as well. So that's why the SAG Awards are where it's all going to really go down. And Taron Egerton is up for that award as well. So on the 19th, we will find out when SAG crowns their Best Actor for the year. Between Phoenix in a very divisive, electric role, and Egerton in a crowd pleaser, Elton John. No one can get upset. A friend of mine actually who, I think it was over the Frozen song category and stuff, and they were like, I can't be angry with Elton John winning something. So I think, although I think Joker fans would find a way. But anyway, there could always be an upset. It might be Adam Driver. He could take the SAG. How do actors feel about Netflix? I think anti-Netflix sentiment factors in heavily with the Golden Globes. They can buy a seat at the table, but they so far have been unable to buy awards. And the Oscars as well. Roma missing out on it got director, but still, it's not. Netflix hasn't been able to break through, but they might with the SAG because they employ so many actors. And then Driver could maybe even take home the Oscar. You could find an upset there. Although, again, whoever gets the SAG is probably going to get the Oscar. But still, Adam Driver, he got nominated for BlacKkKlansman Best Supporting by all three organizations, Golden Globes, SAG, and the Oscars. But again, that would be unusual. Whoever wins the SAG is probably going to win the Oscar. I say probably because people hate Joker that much. Some people really hate it. But I think it's worth noting, and this will help Joaquin Phoenix as well, that he's never won an Oscar or a SAG award, right? Despite several nominations for both. He did win the Golden Globe once for Best Actor, Comedy, or Musical. And what do you know? He lost the Oscar to Philip Seymour Hoffman and Capote, who'd won, sure enough, Best Actor Drama that same year. So it's really, really consistent. Now, also, furthermore, helping Joaquin Phoenix is that competition, Taron Egerton and Adam Driver, well, they're much earlier in their own careers. And they're going to have plenty of time to get an Oscar later on. Whereas this seems like the right time for Joaquin Phoenix, right? He's already been nominated 3 times for an Oscar, going back as far as 2001 for Gladiator. How much longer are we going to make him wait? So Joaquin Phoenix, he's a little bit of a gift to the comic book community because he has other elements which favor him to win, and what maybe why he is the best shot Joker has at a major win at these awards shows. because again, actors, the community, Hollywood is factoring in other stuff outside of the actual movie Joker and comic book movies. Because, I thought last night it looked like for a moment Joker was going to get Black Panther or Mad Max Fury Road, where with those films, they got major nominations, but they only won like in the craft and secondary categories. And of course, earlier in the evening, Joker did take home Best Score, although that's a nice feather in its cap with the first female composer ever to take home that Golden Globe. But again, it really boils down to validation. 69% on Rotten Tomatoes only for Joker. So close to being rotten. For instance, when I tweeted out last night that I was so happy to see validation for Joker with this win, some smart aleck tweeted back, oh, Joker's a very highly respected film. It's not. It's really, again, as I said, divisive. That Rotten Tomatoes score is ridiculous. And I think, by the way, if you claim that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got vindication last night at the Golden Globes, you got to give it to Joker as well. And I think they both did, to be honest with you. And that annoys me about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood probably as much as it annoys some of you about Joker. But again, that's what happened. This would also give DC bragging rights that sometimes, that even though it's only sometimes that they get it right, when they get it right, they really get it right. First The Dark Knight and now this. But it would, overall, this win would give hope to all genre films that they could win in the major categories. Just as I think Jordan Peele winning a screenplay for Get Out was a step in the right direction. But still, again, Logan was nominated, didn't win. We want the major categories. I'm talking directing, acting, picture. That's really what we're looking for here. Now, and also, of course, Heath Ledger won for the same exact role for The Dark Knight, but all of his wins were posthumous, and I think to date that's been factored in as to why he won. I mean, he was amazing, but I think, that was undeniably, and of course it was, a factor in, I think, his winning. Now, also, I think the Academy, will want to make up for the Nolan snub for The Dark Knight. No Best Picture nomination, no Best Director nomination. And you might wonder, well, maybe they'll feel that nominations for Joker in those categories are enough, debt paid. But I think one win would really help. And just if you watch the talk show scene alone, and I'm surprised they didn't include that in the clip reel last night, the final interview with Murray Franklin. That wasn't included in the clip reel. Maybe they're trying to avoid spoilers. I don't know. I think that's where, if you watch that scene, it's undeniable that Joaquin Phoenix deserves to win legitimately. It's just great. And I think that this would be, by the way, the first win for a leading role in a comic book movie. Heath Ledger, of course, was supporting. So that would be huge. It would also help interest other actors into joining these franchises. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. wouldn't have felt it was a pipe dream to try and get nominated for Avengers Endgame, although I think going up against Joaquin Phoenix, it did make it seem more ridiculous than I think in other years it would have. I thought he had an argument for what he did overall for the MCU. But not only will this help interest actors in comic book movies and genre movies, but filmmakers, just like Nolan opened the door. And I think people felt maybe it didn't really quite open after all because of the way things have progressed, and that The Dark Knight didn't quite get the recognition that it deserved from within the industry. But this will make it seem like you can, and it'll seem like comic book movies and genre movies are a building block in careers instead of ways to end them. Like, even Feige very much operates in his own camp. It'll make comic book movies seem like you can make them and be in them and still be very much part of Tinseltown, which is very, it's very much a closed society that's very tight. So that's important. Some of you might be like, who cares? If you worked in Hollywood, you'd care. So do you think that Joaquin Phoenix will win the Oscar? And do you want him to? Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.